right, welcome back in. Here we are talking heroic disgrace. What? The lights are so awesome on it. With author Scott Box. How are you guys doing today? I hope you're great. Hope everything is good. Hope you've been watching all of our vlogs, our video podcasts. I don't know, videos. Just
vlog
YouTube
is
videos.
Such a disgusting word.
It seems weird. It seems dirty and gross.
Just choke. Vlog. Sorry.
It sounds like something one of those like aliens in Star Wars.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a Klingon word or something.
Yeah,
Sorry,
there
now
we go.
Just,
okay. Anyway,
dumb.
So this is going to be the kiddie pool. Okay, I'm just going to let you guys know today. We're going to get into the deeper, darker side of this. Okay, so grab your popcorn, chill out, but just know, we're starting it off in the 2-foot section. We're going to get into the 4 or 5 foot section, and soon we're going to be in the 12-foot part where unless you're a good swimmer, you probably need to grab a life vest or something like that, because we're going to get into that counseling session, volume 2. Okay, that's what we're going to go over today. It's going to be the tough part of this, because I know this is coming from a man's perspective. This is the part of this that no man wants to hear, that they've let down their wife or their loved one or their son or daughter or mom or dad. We've talked about this, and really right off the bat, this begins when you guys go to a counseling session this certain day. This counseling session. It's just volume 2, whatever. But it's one of the many you had at that point.
Yeah.
And
which at that point in time, just to throw it in,
please do.
We were in the place of going twice a week.
Okay.
So I joke about loading up the shotgun and blasting things. There was blasting happening every
week.
single week, and twice a week.
How far in would you say that this session happened? How far into your beginning of counseling until what point is this?
Yeah.
Would you say like a month, a year?
No, it would have been a year to 2 year.
Wow.
In that first, those first
I would have said this
years.
stuff to you right off the bat. I would have said, "Hi, I'm Clint. Welcome. You're a piece."
Yeah, I hate you. Right.
Not
right.
really.
No,
Not
I
really.
mean totally.
But here's what I want to read. Okay, and I want to do this a little different because I think this is serious. If I can read this and then kind of get your take on this. Actually, I mean this one's tough. So I'm going to actually paraphrase it. I don't want to read it because
That's fine.
Because I want you to break it down more than I want to spend time reading it. Read it for yourself. Buy the book. Okay.
There you go.
But really, when your counselor says to Kariann, looks her in the eyes, you're sitting there next to Kariann on the couch, and the counselor says to Kariann, "Hey, I'm sorry for your loss. Okay, I am grieving with you over the marriage that you thought you were going to have, over the husband you thought you were marrying, over the goals that you had. I am sorry for your loss, that this guy is not doing what you thought he would do for you in your life." And you're sitting there on the couch and you realize the severity of this. And, it actually doesn't matter how deep in it was, how many weeks or months in it is, but this was a gripping point for you.
Yeah, it was. That sucked. I mean, there's no other way around it. And what I think made it so sucky was that Libby wasn't even talking to me. I was a fly on the wall in that conversation. And
She's talking about you.
Yeah, that's where it was so painful, is that I was, and that maybe that's just one of the strategies they can use, but counselors can use, I don't know. But,
right.
And how many counselors do couples? I don't know that either, but Kariann and I decided to do it together.
Yeah.
So
no, this had to be a together moment.
I effectively welcomed that type of experience. It gave Libby an opportunity to kick me in the balls.
But that wasn't her intent. Her intent here, I think, is geared more toward Kariann, that she was feeling for Kariann in this situation, woman to woman.
Yeah.
Okay, that's important.
How selfish of me to even think that way, because that's exactly. Take it, keep going where you're going, because it wasn't about me. You're exactly right.
But you're the one.
But it was a freaking kick in the balls all the same. So this was about Kariann. Keep going.
Right. So
you're right
she's
on.
basically coming alongside Kariann and saying, "Hey, like, this project that you've spent tons of time on, it's not going to work out.
7 years.
Yeah,
at
it's
this
not.
point in time,
You've spent. You're like NASA up here. We've given you trillions of dollars. You've done nothing with it. Like you have to be sitting there saying, "But wait, but I'm right here." Like you're crying at this situation. You're emotional because you realize your fault in this. And how did that jar you? What was the conversation in the car after this?
Well, let me. Okay.
Because I know you're repentant in this. I know that you made big life changes in this, but right at that moment, how did you respond?
Yeah, I think what was so devastating for me was that I knew Kariann's optimism would probably carry us forever. I knew that I knew we were in dangerous water, but I knew that her optimism was the life jacket, if you will. That more than likely was going to take us a long, long way, whatever. But to have an authority like Libby rip that life jacket off and be like, it's okay to sink. It's okay. It's okay if you go under the water for a little bit. It's okay for you to, because I think part of the reason was Libby was saying, I'm the boat. I'm here. I've got the hook. I'll pull you out.
Yeah.
But it's okay for you to just give up for a second. That feeling of realizing that Kariann could for a moment be pessimistic,
right,
was the realization of all of my fears.
This was really happening. I mean, this has been happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that freaking sucks.
I mean, I want you to take away that life jacket, and I want you to instead think about Titanic here. I want you to think about, we all know there was room for Jack on the door. Okay.
Thank you for going there.
Because this is the situation where Kariann could have said, there's no room up here on the door, man, and watch you sink into the frozen abyss of life. And that's a moment. That's a moment where, do you cut your losses? Do you cut your losses in real business? You cut your losses there.
I think that Kariann, another woman might have. Kariann wasn't going to, and I think that Libby probably knew at that moment in time very well what she had on her hands. In with Kariann and me, she had. She'd been with us for many months, numerous months, tens of months by that point in time, or close to. And so I think Libby had committed herself to the concept of, I'm gonna be able to help these guys, but I have to speak truth into their life.
Yeah.
And in this regard, I need to give Kariann permission to grieve the man that she thought she married.
Yeah.
And that, again, was the realization of all my fears, because I wasn't the guy that Kariann married. I had become something else, kind of monstrous.
Well, I want to go to the lazy aspect of this.
Okay.
Like, I think, and just from my perspective of reading through Heroic Disgrace with you here and doing this, and having my own copy, of course. What I really want to get to here is that what I'm seeing is that you had fallen into a lazy pattern in life that didn't work toward what Kariann was wanting. And you didn't communicate that with her. She didn't communicate it with you. Yeah. She's a great person. Okay. I know her off camera, obviously, and can say that she probably was not saying, hey, you still in bed at 10:30 a.m.? Bro, you gained another 100 pounds last week. Like, she didn't say, time to get to work, time to get something going. She just thought maybe you would come around at some point. Now, that led to super disaster here as we're going through, okay? Because this counseling session changed some things. I know for a fact it changed some things. I know you as a person that you couldn't hear these words and go, get back in the car and be like, hey, you want to go get some Slurpees?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like,
right.
what was that drive like? What was that like?
Yeah. Okay. So
Was
back
there
to
some
that
brokenness
question.
in you? And I want to get to that question. I really want
back
to
to
pull
that.
this out of you. I want you to tell me, like, after this, and you have an emotional moment and boohoo and tears, and
Right.
you got your tissue and all that cute stuff. What was the change
Right.
like when
Right.
you got in the car, just you and her?
Yeah.
What was the conversation like?
Do you remember when I told you about diagnosis
Yep.
and that when they said, Scott, you've got this thing called bipolar 2.
Right.
Remember when I said something about it being a relief?
Yeah, to know.
It was
Yeah.
almost like the dam broke and there was relief volume 2.
Nice.
It was as if something had been brought out of the dark into the light. And so, with that in mind, the reality was that the standards by which Kariann and I had, or the ideals by which we thought that the standard that we thought we could hit hadn't been achieved. We had fallen far short of those standards.
But when you say
And-
we,
Me.
okay.
But it takes two.
Well, of course.
So
But in this, being called out,
we
we're talking about getting called out here. Okay.
yes.
Sorry, I told you we're getting to the deep end.
Yeah.
We're gonna get this here. I
it's-
will
it's
get to
brutal.
the car. I will go back. Don't worry. But I'm asking you point blank. Like,
Right.
did you take ownership of this? Did you get in the car and say she was right and I have to do something different? I am sorry. What was your? What was
It changed me. That moment was the life changer.
What was Kariann's response to this?
You can't tell the story without the completion of that, in the sense that Libby looked at Kariann and said, there was a but. The but was, but this is the man that you married. So
Yep.
she gave her permission to grieve.
Right.
But then she said, but this is the man that you married. And Scott Box is already growing and is learning and is changing. And so there was a glimmer. The hook was already in the water at that point in time. So there was, I didn't know it.
Right.
I didn't see her strategy. It didn't make sense to me. But in the car on the way back, it was as if we were already, it was as if we had already kind of flung our arms onto the hook and
Onto the door.
onto the door. Thank you, Jack. Yes.
Jack's back on the door.
And yeah, that there was,
She cleared some water off.
no, I mean, but the truth of the matter was that without Libby saying this guy is still the guy,
Of course.
I
No, of
would
course.
have felt so broken. I would have felt so lost, because there was the crash of that realization of my fears and my frustrations and my concern, all of that, to no, he is still the guy. He's still the man for you.
Right.
But you have to meet him where he's at right now. And if you can do that, you can keep going. Yes, grieve, but not for too long. Dream new dreams. When she said that, I was back on the door.
Right. Right.
That's what so the car ride home was about dreaming new dreams. It shifted everything. It changed it to the point where we could look at it with new eyes.
Right. Was this a way where you were like, let's overcome this? Maybe Kariann was like, let's overcome this issue, and that will change the dreams maybe we had.
Maybe.
Right? Because, I mean, at a certain point in all of our lives, we do something that's unhealthy or we get injured, let's say, whatever it might be. The first new dream is getting healthy. The first new dream is healing,
Yeah,
right?
Clint, that's
so,
right.
like, if you're a pro football player, something you tear your ACL, you're not thinking about running a 1,000-yard season anymore. You're thinking about just getting back to walking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe getting a paycheck down the road.
But you have to focus
1,000-yard
on
season's not
today.
even- Yeah,
you have
that's
to
right.
do right today. And
Gotcha.
this is the thing that I continually do in my life and say in my life. It's on the end of last episode. If you missed it, go check it out. You have today.
Yes.
You don't have tomorrow. Like, you can't keep putting off getting healthy. You can't keep putting off working out or lifting some weights or eating better or drinking your water. Drink your water. I mean, come on. I just seriously keep seeing these things on Facebook. They're like, the best way to overcome this, first step, drink water. And I'm like, oh my word. I mean, it's all these different things.
Yeah.
Just drink water. Oh, you have a problem with this? Drink water. And I'm
Floss your
on
teeth.
that. Right.
That's funny.
I'm on that.
Right.
But it takes doing it now. You can't put it off. And in this situation, in this story, I know that you were repentant. I know that you felt downcast and downtrodden. And I know that the only way out of this was through God's grace for you, that he keeps chasing you down to give you grace as he does with me and as he does for you. I absolutely encourage all of us to be repentant, to ask forgiveness, because you had to do that. You had to say, hey, this gorgeous woman I married, I kind of have to ask forgiveness because I've kind of like train wrecked what you were hoping for. Yeah. What are your final thoughts on the steps you had to take daily? Just quickly, just daily, what steps after this, let's say, day one, the next day, what steps did you have to take to get yourself healthy enough to help pursue these dreams?
This is when my desperation for Jesus was at its peak.
Nice. Yep.
And so the initial realization that Scott Box wasn't to Kariann what Scott Box wanted to be to Kariann. Okay, so that's talking third person, sorry. But that, and I don't want to over spiritualize, but that was the moment I realized Scott Box wasn't the friend to Jesus that Scott Box thought.
Right.
I mean, it's the most...
Because the fruit wasn't there.
It wasn't. I had nothing to show for it other than the broken, sinful, fearful dude that I had become. And Libby had unearthed in that moment.
Yeah.
And
she found your weakness in this and your kryptonite.
So that was the moment that I recognized the pursuit and the reflection of Jesus had to become something far more important than I had ever made it, because of not only what it would do for me, but what it had to do for my marriage moving forward.
What steps did you take day one? Is this when the diet and exercise began? Is this when spiritual, growth began, when you started reading your Bible on a different plan? Did you, were you in prayer more? Were you in service more? What steps were you taking at that point?
Trying to think of how Kariann and I handled this immediately, like the steps that we took together. I don't have an answer for that at the moment. I think there is an answer, but I think Kariann has to, I think this is a plug for the next thing. I mean, I think Kariann and I have to think through that together. And
because as someone who's watching and as I want to know, and I want to be with you on the journey, obviously,
that's a question.
We're here with you on the journey, but I need to know, okay, hey, how'd you rehab? If you tore your ACL, how'd you rehab?
How?
You didn't just lay in bed. You had to go walking, you had to stretch, you had to do these steps. What are the steps that you took? That's my challenge for you. So in you and Kariann's episode of doing this together, that would be my talking points for you guys. I would love to know
the how.
The how. Just you, just her, and you together.
We got to do it.
That would be good.
Okay.
So I told you we'd get deep on this. We'd get in somewhere, and we are not encouraging you to go watch Titanic. Remember... Remember, it's for adults. There are some things in there, but
don't watch that with your kids without a review.
There's some spots you probably want to go fast forward. But here's what I'm saying. Okay, make room on the door. I know there's people watching this. I know there's people out there right now that are holding something against someone. Kariann could have held stuff against you. She could have walked. She could have cut her losses and walked. Man, most women walk these days like that, and I encourage you to forgive and forget. That's what Jesus says. That's what God commands us to do. Forgive and forget all that stuff and move on today, tomorrow, to continue on, or the relationship's gone and you've wasted your life and you've wasted all this time building a relationship together and all this stuff. That's the key in all of this to me is forgiveness. So Heroic Disgrace, you can find on Amazon, anywhere books are sold. Get it on both cameras, get you a good angle. Hopefully not the light all weird. Reach out to us on social media. Hit up Scott and ask him, what was that car ride home like? Because I still do want to know that and put him back in those places. Because I will speak for Scott right now and say, hey, this is not a thing that I did. This is a thing I do. This is an everyday thing. I don't just say, oh, I got better. No, I didn't get better in my relationship with my wife. I have to keep getting better every day. I have to work on it every day. I have to work on fulfilling dreams every day. And that's what we're working on right here and we're helping you with. So Heroic Disgrace, heroicdisgrace.com. Check us out. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And we will see you next time.